I started this episode a few times because I feel like this is such an important topic. How to be your own best friend is the foundation for everything, I think, in like if you have a business or even your normal everyday life. I think it's one of the most important gifts that you can give yourself. And I'm still in the process of learning this as well, but I think over the last few years, I've really found out a lot of different tools and ways how to nurture myself and be my own best friend and support myself. Because we spend our whole lives with ourselves. We are the one person who's always there through every idea, every doubt, every success, and every mistake. And when you decide to truly have your own back, when you decide to treat yourself with the same kindness, patience, and encouragement you would offer a close friend, something really begins to shift. So this is really the opposite of constantly criticizing yourself or feeling like you're not doing enough. And instead you start creating an inner relationship that feels supportive, safe, and strengthening. So today in this episode, I want to talk about what it really means to be your own best friend. And I think it rests on three simple but powerful pillars: self-acceptance, self-care, and self-support. So we'll talk about why this can feel difficult at first, where that inner critical voice often comes from, and how we can slowly start replacing it with something much more compassionate. So let's get started. Okay, the first pillar is self-acceptance. And this is embracing who you are right now and believing that you are enough the way you are right now. And I know that can feel hard to believe, especially if you're someone who is creative or building something of your own. There's often this pressure to improve, to grow, to keep moving forward. And growth is beautiful. It's a natural part of being human. But growth that comes from constant self-criticism, from feeling like you're never quite there, that kind of growth can feel exhausting and never-ending. But self-acceptance creates a very different foundation. Because it says, I can grow and I can want more for my life, but I don't have to reject who I am today in order to get there. I can stand on my own side while I grow. And I think that changes everything, because when you accept yourself, you create a kind of inner safety. You're no longer working against yourself, you're working with yourself. The problem is that many of us have a very strong inner critic, which shows up as comparison, like comparing your work with someone else online and immediately feeling behind, or maybe as perfectionism, feeling like what you've created isn't quite good enough to share, or that you're somehow not quite good enough as you are. And it can be very subtle. It can sound like I should be further along by now, or I could have done that better. Why can't I be more like this? But the problem is when the voice becomes the loudest one in your life, it's very hard to feel like your own friend. Because imagine having a friend who spoke to you that way all the time. You probably wouldn't feel very safe or supported. So part of self-acceptance is gently noticing that voice, but not giving it too much weight and not believing it. So something you can practice if you want, the next time you notice self-criticism, instead of following it and believing what it says, just pause and ask yourself, would I say this to a close friend? And if the answer is no, try offering yourself a different response. Something like, it's okay to be learning, I'm allowed to go at my own pace, I'm doing the best I can right now, with what I know right now. It's not about pretending that everything is perfect, it's just creating a more supportive inner environment. One where you are allowed to be human. Like, I could easily say that I can't record podcast episodes because I stumble over my own words a lot, and I sometimes can't express myself clearly. English isn't even my native language. So there's so many reasons I can find not to make this podcast and to talk myself down. But instead, I decided not to do that and really be on my own side, support myself, because I know I want to do this. I want to build something online, and I want to have a podcast and share my thoughts. And I'm very sure that some people can benefit from it. So why not really allow myself to use my voice and be okay with my imperfections? And like, actually, it can quite often help other people as well if they see someone taking action imperfectly. It might help them to dare do it themselves, because they see you don't have to be perfect to give yourself permission to be out there in the world and sharing your voice. Because even think about your closest friendships. You don't require those people to be perfect. And you don't expect them to have everything figured out in life. You just enjoy them for who they are, their quirks and their way of seeing the world, their unique personality. And self-acceptance is offering that same openness to yourself. It's allowing yourself to sit with your own thoughts, your own pace, your own way of doing things, without constantly trying to fix or change everything. It's noticing what makes you you and letting that be enough. Because your creativity, your ideas, and your voice, they don't come from a place of perfection. They come from a place of authenticity. And the more you accept yourself, the easier it becomes to access that. You start to feel more at ease, more grounded, more like yourself. The second pillar of being your own best friend is self-care. And I want to start by gently redefining what that actually means. Because self-care is often talked about as something indulgent, like bubble baths or spa days or taking time off. And while those things can be lovely, real self-care goes much deeper than that. I think self-care is about how you take care of your life. It's about how you support your body, your mind, and your emotional well-being on a daily basis, so that you can actually feel good, feel grounded, and have the energy to create and live the life you want. It's less about escape and more about nourishment. So it's really like the question, what do I need in order to thrive? So when you begin to see self-care in that way, it becomes something much more steady and supportive. It shows up in small everyday habits. Things like giving yourself a little quiet time in the morning before the day begins, which I love to do. Eating meals that actually nourish you. Getting enough rest, even when your mind tells you to keep going. Moving your body in a way that feels good, not forced, and not making it a thing that needs to be ticked off and maybe stresses you out more, but more finding something that really gives you nourishment. So all these things might sound very simple, but they create a foundation. And this foundation gives you the strength to be creative and focused and emotionally balanced. And that's especially true if you're building something or putting your work out into the world. Because if you just keep going, keep pushing without caring for yourself, then it definitely will lead to burnout. So I think the foundation is self-care, to have the strength to give to others and build something meaningful. And I think it's about learning to listen and really listen to yourself, your body, your energy, your emotions. And you can do this by asking yourself a simple question every day. So, what would make me feel nourished today? And whatever the answer is, just do it. So, sometimes that might be resting, and sometimes it might be working on a project and being productive. And yeah, there's so many, just really learning to listen to your inner nudges. Sometimes it might be going for a walk or sitting in the sun, or just working on something creative for fun, just for the joy of it. And the more you ask yourself these things, the more you will get used to hearing the answers. And then you begin to trust yourself, that you do take care of yourself. And that's really important for being your own best friend. I actually created a full other episode on this called How to Create Your Own Self-Care Toolbox, where I go much deeper into building this kind of personal collection of practices and ideas. Because I really think self-care isn't just one fixed routine. It's something very flexible, and it often depends even on the season of your life what helps you. It doesn't always stay the same throughout your whole life. It keeps changing and evolving with you. And then if you do these little steps, then you will notice that over time it becomes non-negotiable. Not in a rigid or a stressful way, but like in a more steady and grounded way. Because if you think about it, being your own best friend means showing up for yourself. It means honoring your needs, even when it's inconvenient. Even when there are other things you could be doing. Because you matter too. Your energy matters. Your well-being matters. And when you take care of yourself in this way, you're not just avoiding burnout, you're building resilience. You're creating a life that can actually support you. So this is your reminder. Self-care isn't something you earn after you've done enough. It's something you practice because you matter. And the more consistently you show up for yourself in these small, caring ways, the stronger and more supportive that relationship with yourself becomes. And then the last pillar is self-support, which means really showing up for yourself wholeheartedly, like cheering yourself on, for example. So if you ever have any small wins or milestones, if you reach little goals, that you really celebrate them with yourself. Because quite often, and I always do this, I always forget to celebrate little wins. Quite often we just move on to the next thing and we don't even acknowledge the small little things that we accomplished. And it's nice to have like an inner cheerleader that actually tells you, yay, well done. And you can just pat your own back or whatever, whatever helps you to cheer yourself on. And part of supporting yourself is also allowing more joy and curiosity into your life. Taking yourself on little adventures. And this doesn't have to be anything big or dramatic. It can be as simple as going somewhere new, trying a different creative activity, spending an afternoon exploring something that interests you. Maybe visit a new charity shop or a market or a quirky cafe. Just finding something that gives you new inspiration. And when you do things like this, you're building a relationship with yourself that isn't just about productivity or responsibility, but more about enjoyment and discovery and play. And also, every time you try something new, you will learn more about yourself and you expand your own world. And this will help build confidence. And this naturally connects to your creativity, because self-support also means honoring your ideas. Even the ones that feel a little uncertain or different or not fully formed yet. It's so easy to dismiss your own ideas, to think that they're probably not good enough or someone else has already done that better. But if you really want to be your own best friend, it means to take your ideas seriously and to listen to them, giving them space and following your curiosity, even if you don't know exactly where it will lead. Because your creativity doesn't need perfection to exist. It just needs permission. And when you support your ideas instead of shutting them down, you create room for something truly personal and meaningful to grow. And of course, self-support also matters in the harder moments. I actually think it matters even more there. When things don't go as planned, and when you feel stuck or doubtful or overwhelmed. And unfortunately, this is often when we're the hardest on ourselves. But this is exactly when you need your own support the most. Many people just try pushing harder or criticizing themselves, but instead you could just pause and meet yourself with compassion. And then you remind yourself, this is part of the process. It's okay to feel this way. And I can take this one step at a time. And sometimes self-support looks very simple. Maybe it just looks like taking a break, stepping outside, breathing in the fresh air, writing things down, grounding yourself somewhere in nature. You don't have to fix everything at once. You just have to stay on your own side and don't abandon yourself. So it really rests on these 3 pillars: self-acceptance, which means meeting yourself where you are and choosing to be on your own side. Self-care, nurturing your body, your mind, and your energy so you can have a foundation to live and create from. And self-support, encouraging yourself, following your ideas, and holding yourself with compassion through every part of the journey. And all of this isn't something you master overnight. It's a practice, and it takes time. It's something you return to again and again in small ways. Especially if you're building a creative life or a business. This inner relationship shapes everything. How you show up, how you create, how you move through challenges. So instead of trying to change everything at once, just start small. Maybe today you could ask yourself, which of these areas do I need most right now? Is it self-acceptance, self-care, or self-support? And what is one small way I could begin? And if you feel like sharing, I would love to hear from you. You can let me know over on YouTube what you're focusing on right now, or what this idea of being your own best friend looks like to you. Because building this kind of relationship with yourself is powerful, and it's even more meaningful when we share that journey and support each other along the way. So I hope this episode resonated with you and you got something out of it. Thanks very much for listening, and I talk to you soon again. Bye.